Harare doesn't sleep. Even at midnight, you'll find someone selling airtime by the traffic lights, a combi blasting Zim dance hall, or a vendor chasing their last bond note. The city stays awake, loud and restless, like it's got something to prove. I'm Tendai, but most people call me Tendi. Third-year biomedical science student at the University of Zimbabwe, UZ. Some say I'm beauty with brains, others just say I'm trouble in a pretty package. Depends on who you ask. I roll with my girls, my day ones, not sisters by blood, but by fire, by what we've been through. We were all born and raised in Hatfield, an old suburb just close enough to the CBD to feel the city's pulse. Same schools, same streets, same dreams. Life in Hatfield was fun. We owned the streets. Everyone knew us as the troublesome trio. Meet Noma, the quiet assassin. Her cheekbones could cut steel, and her eyes looked like they'd already figured out your next move. She's a biochemical engineering student with a mind built for strategy, and she's not afraid to get her hands dirty. Noma made it look easy, cool, unbothered, always 10 steps ahead. She had a whole Premier League of blessers, each one more disposable than the last. If there were a degree in clean exits and minimal drama, Sis would be a professor. Then there was Rutendo, sweet, pure Ruru, a med student still holding on to hope and morals like it was a group project only she was doing. But even she wasn't blind. The moment her Econet data bundle ran out and her little brother needed school fees, temptation started whispering. Me? I had ambition. I didn't just want perfumes and lunch dates. I wanted status, clout. Meet Ronnie, the quintessential Harare mogul, a man who's turned ambition into an empire. In his mid-30s, this tall, dark, and effortlessly charming entrepreneur is the proud owner of multiple high-end car dealerships dotted across the city. But his reach doesn't stop there. Ronnie is also a land and property titan, with sprawling estates and prime developments that have made him a household name in Zimbabwe's business circles. Ronnie moves through the streets of Harare like he owns them, with that confident swagger and tailored suits that speak volumes about his success. He's got the kind of presence that makes people sit up and take notice, not just for his sharp looks, but because he's the real deal. At the heart of it all is his beautiful wife, Natasha. Together, they live the life most dream about in their stunning mansion in Borrowdale Brook, a neighborhood synonymous with luxury and exclusivity. The power couple is a fixture at the city's top social events, blending business with pleasure in true Zimbabwean style. Ronnie's story isn't just about wealth, it's about vision, hustle, and carving out a legacy in the land he calls home. Natasha, Ronnie's wife, is the embodiment of beauty and brains wrapped in an air of unshakable confidence. Born into a wealthy and influential family, she moves through Harare's elite circles with effortless poise and sharp intellect. But Natasha isn't just impressive. She's also fiercely judgmental, always sizing people up and making it clear where they stand in her world. She has little patience for those she deems beneath her and doesn't hide her disdain, especially toward younger girls who seem to try to catch Ronnie's attention. More than guarding her territory, she takes pleasure in looking down on anyone she considers less refined or successful. Her presence is commanding, and those who cross paths with her quickly learn that Natasha rules her domain with cold confidence, making it clear she's not to be underestimated. It was month-end. Rent was due. The fridge was giving poverty. Groceries? A myth. And part-time jobs, please. Who had time to fold t-shirts at Edgar's when exams were knocking like Zisa at month-end? In Harare, when things got tight, we leaned into the one thing this city never slept on: beauty. That afternoon, the sun hung low, golden and hot, like it had nowhere to be. Harare was doing its usual madness, combis dodging potholes like they were playing Need for Speed, vendors yelling over each other to move pineapples and avocados, and someone somewhere blasting Japreza on a Bluetooth speaker with zero shame. We shared an apartment in the avenues, neat, well-maintained. We took care of it the same way we took care of ourselves. As we sat around the table having our meal, "My data's finished again," Noma muttered, tossing her phone like it had insulted her. "This guy said he'd send me airtime after class. No, he's blue-ticked me. Boys ripa Harare soka, ya ma one." I nearly choked on my sadza. "You trusted a man who drives a Golf Kekudara to send you airtime? Babe, first mistake." Rutendo looked up from her pathophysiology textbook, cross-legged on the floor like the responsible queen she was. "You guys are wild. I'm just trying to pass and not starve at the same time." We laughed. Because honestly, if we didn't laugh, we'd cry. As the sun dipped and the city lit up like a bad decision, it was time to switch modes. From broke students to bad bitches. Noma threw on a black jumpsuit that looked like sin. Hair slicked back into a ponytail so smooth it could reflect light. Me? I pulled out my statement heels, tall enough to be disrespectful, and my faux leather mini that had seen more drama than a Telemundo series. Rutendo took the most convincing, but after 10 minutes of whining and a mirror check, she slipped into my old red dress, the one she swore was too short for Jesus. She looked good, and she knew it. We stepped out like we owned the city, even if our bank accounts were screaming. Destination, Pariah State. Harare's playground for the rich, the fake rich, and the wannabe rich. As we walked in, the world changed. The air smelled like money and mischief. Amapiano beat shit hard, lights flashed like paparazzi, and the crowd was a mix of influencers, politicians' sons, and married men on business trips. This was the jungle. And we weren't prey. We were just playing the game. Ronnie was already in his usual spot, VIP surrounded by his hype men and hangers-on, a bottle of something expensive sweating on Thetable. Designer shades indoors like it was our requirement. The man looked like Harare elite bottled into one body, flashy, smooth, untouchable. But he saw me. The second I stepped in, his eyes clocked me, not in that desperate, thirsty kind of way. Nah, he could tell. I wasn't there to beg for attention. I expected it. Our eyes met. I held it for a second, then looked away. My lips curved into that lazy, confident smile I'd perfected. No rush. Let him make the first move. And he did. A few minutes later, a chilled bottle of Moet landed on our table. No note, just that gold label glistening like it had a mission. "Must be for you," Rutendo teased, raising an eyebrow. "Obviously," I said, already uncorking it like I owned the night. I poured a glass, slow, deliberate. Let it catch the light. Let it remind them. I was built for this. From across the room, Ronnie's mouth twitched, that little satisfied smirk, like he'd just won a prize. Then, like clockwork, he rose and strolled over. "So, are you going to say thank you?" he asked, voice smooth, like it had bass built in. I tilted my head and smiled, like sin. "For what? The overpriced juice?" He laughed, one of those full-body rich laughs that fill a room and leave their scent behind. Theman had presence, I'll give him that. "You've got a mouth on you, I like that," he said, eyes dancing. We talked. Banter. Compliments. Flirtation in slow motion. He praised my looks, my aura, my confidence. I let him work for every reaction, every smile. That's the trick. Give just enough, never too much. Then came the line. "You're the kind of girl who should never struggle." I looked at him. Really looked. The gold Rolex, the manicured beard, the arrogance wrapped in designer fabric. Dangerous. But so was I. He pulled a card from his wallet. Business class energy. Let's do lunch, not the broke kind. I took it, slid it into my clutch like it was just another receipt. But something hung in the air between us. A promise, a warning, a maybe. And I couldn't help but wonder for the first time, was I still playing the game? Or had I just stepped into someone else's? Meanwhile, in Borrowdale Brook? Natasha stood in front of her vanity mirror, removing her diamond earrings with quiet precision. Classy, composed, always in control. Then her phone buzzed. Madam, boss is at Pariah, with a UZ student-looking girl, not one of the usuals. She read the message once, twice, then looked at her reflection again. That face, that cold, perfect face. Atanga futi, Ronnie, she muttered. Her jaw tightened, but only for a second. Then she smiled, calm, calculated, the kind of smile that promised consequences without ever raising its voice. A few days later, lunch at Amanzi. I was 15 minutes late, on purpose. When I walked in, I saw him already seated, scrolling his phone like time worked on his terms. Tailored trousers, Cuban link catching sunlight, that expensive cologne already hanging in the air like signature ink. You're late, he said, smirking. You're lucky I showed up, I shot back, sliding into the chair like I'd just come off a runway. He laughed. He was used to girls folding under the weight of all this wealth. Me? I adjusted my bra strap and picked up the wine list like I had generational wealth behind me. Order what you want, he said, casual flick of the wrist. I didn't blink. Prawns, steak, a cocktail I couldn't pronounce. If he was testing me, let him feel the price. Then I asked the question. Sweet. Director. So, what's the catch? You don't feed broke girls out of charity. He leaned forward, voice dropping low. You're not broke, he said. You're underpaid by life. I'm just correcting that. I smiled. I'd heard smoother lines from brokers who couldn't afford data. But this one? This one had the scent of power. Let me help you, he added. You deserve to breathe without worrying about Econet airtime. And as much as I laughed, light, effortless, the truth stung a little. Because I was tired. Tired of rationing data. Tired of wondering if my beauty could carry another week of groceries. But I also knew this wasn't love. This was leverage. Power. Politics in perfume and Prosecco. Still, I sipped my drink, leaned back in my chair and let him talk. By the time dessert hit the table, I had a brand new iPhone sitting pretty next to my wine glass, a thick brown envelope in my bag, and a guaranteed ride home in Ronnie's matte black GLE. I wasn't naive. I knew what came with those gifts. But for tonight, I was winning, and I'd play the game like a girl who knew the rules. When the GLE pulled up outside our flat in the avenues, I hesitated. This was the moment, the invisible line, where things stop being cute dinners and start getting complicated. I'll call you, I said as I stepped out, fingers brushing the envelope like it was my ticket out of poverty. Ronnie smiled, gaze lingering like a man who thought he'd already claimed ownership. Don't wait too long, he said. I'm not used to being ignored. Back inside the flat, the smell of roast maize and dust had been replaced by the quiet hum of olives. Noma was curled on the couch, laptop open, fingers flying. She looked up the second I walked in, eyes sharp, assessing. You smell expensive, she said, one eyebrow raised. I smirked, dropping the envelope on the table with a dramatic thud. It's called progress, Wangu, I said, slipping off my heels. Rent is sorted. Wi-Fi covered. This city doesn't reward nice girls, Noma. She didn't answer right away. Just looked at their phone, still in the box, then back at me. Her face stayed calm, but I caught that flicker. The one that said she knew exactly what came after the perks. Just don't get too comfy, she finally said, voice low. These Harare binga men? They always circle back for payment. I laughed, short, confident, a little too loud. If I'm eating steak while giving it, I said, I call that balance. The message. My phone buzzed just when I thought I'd finally catch a break. A message from some Michelle chick at Ascent PR sounded fancy. Women's Leadership Brunch, Highlands House, exclusive. Exclusive? Me? I laughed out loud. Me, Tendai, getting invited to some high-class gathering full of suits, secrets, and soft jazz? That's rich. But then I read the second line again. Curated for influential women shaping Harare's future. Now that part made me pause. Who's shaping what? And why am I suddenly on their radar? This wasn't about women's empowerment. Nah, this was Natasha's world, reaching out. Velvet gloves, silver tongue, diamond smile with dagger teeth. I wasn't about to walk into their cage like some scared bird. I was going to that brunch, not to play their game, but to learn it. Let them watch me, let them try to figure me out. Because Harare doesn't reward nice girls, but it respects the ones who know how to move. The brunch. The event was branded as a Women in Leadership brunch, an elegant affair at Highlands House. All white linen, lavender centerpieces, and flute glasses clinking to overpriced mimosas. I almost didn't go. But when Kudzi's PA slid the invite across Thedable, you'd shine there, Mommy. Politicians' wives, CEOs, might open doors. I knew it wasn't really optional. I wore white, clean, sharp, dangerous, soft glam, braids tucked into a low bun, pearls, because pearls whisper wealth without screaming, I eat your husband's money. Still, I didn't expect to feel so out of place. The women here weren't flashy. They didn't need to be. They didn't post their vacations. They owned half the land between Greystone Park and Vumba. Then, she's here, someone whispered. I turned. Natasha, a vision in emerald silk, minimalist gold, effortless poise, the kind of woman who doesn't walk, she glides, like the floor rises to meet her. When our eyes met, it was nothing, just a glance, then a smile. Controlled. Warm enough to confuse, cold enough to remind you she knew exactly who you were. Tendai, right? She asked, voice like piano notes played with gloves on. I blinked. Yes. And you are? Natasha Moyo. I run a few mentorship programs for girls at UZ. I think we might have a few mutual friends. That pause before mutual friends was a loaded gun. We sat at the same table. Of course, Natasha had arranged it. For the next hour, I felt like I was on trial, in heels. Such a smart girl, Natasha said sweetly at one point. Ronnie always says how rare it is to find someone beautiful and ambitious. I sipped my mimosa, smiled like a lioness. That's kind of him. He talks about you too. Says you're the reason he's so stable. Such an anchor. Touché. Our table mates smiled, clueless to the cold war unfolding between bites of avocado toast. Near the end, she touched my arm lightly. Software threatening. Be careful, Tendai. Men like Ronnie are generous. Until they're not. I'd hate for your degree to get lost in all the diamonds and distractions. I didn't flinch. I've always believed women should lift each other up, not worn each other down. She laughed, not cruelly, just enough to say, you'll learn. Of course, we're all women here, Same struggle, different weapons. When the event ended, I didn't look back, but I felt her eyes on me. And for the first time in weeks, I wasn't sure if I was winning. Aftermath. People think power lives in loud places, in the clubs, in the cars, in thick wads of bond notes slapped on the table. But real power, it whispers. And Natasha? That woman could silence a room with one glance. After that brunch, I wasn't the same. My body came home to the avenues. But my mind? Still stuck at that overpriced garden venue, replaying her tone, her smile that didn't reach her eyes. That wasn't a brunch. It was a warning. The next morning, I moved like I was outside my own body. Lip gloss, perfect. Edges, laid. Outfit, crisp. But inside? I was shaken. Then my phone buzzed. Ronnie. Hey babe, heard about yesterday. Are you okay? Want to talk? I stared at the screen. So he knew. Of course he did. Their circles were tighter than a waist trainer. Someone must have whispered. Your side chick got checked by your wife. I didn't reply. Not yet. Instead, I started putting the pieces together. Ronnie always played the chill, peace-seeking type. But behind that, he was running. From her. From himself. From the mirror. I remembered the flinches when his phone buzzed, the half-truths, the guilt. He wasn't chasing me just for the thrill. He was escaping, so I thought, maybe I stop being the bad girl. Maybe I become the soft landing. The one who gives him what she can't. Freedom, illusion, choice. That's how you win in Harare. You don't outshout the wife. You outmaneuver her. I finally typed, I'm fine, just surprised. Your wife is impressive. His reply came quickly. Don't let her get to you. She's just territorial. Territorial, like I was land. I smiled, sipping my juice. Let them both keep thinking I was the girl in the middle. Meanwhile, I was studying the battlefield and planning my next move. The weekend. The weekend didn't start with fireworks. It started with silence. Ronnie picked me up in that matte black GLE. Same cologne. Same smug smile. But something about him felt softer, like he was trying not to try. Masvika Day was his idea. No distractions, just me and you. The lodge, glass walls, still water, air that smelled like old money and eucalyptus. You know the type. The kind of place women with French manicures post on IG with captions like rest and reset. But I didn't post. This wasn't for them. It was for me. I wore silk. No panties. Walked barefoot on cold floors. Let my laugh echo like I owned the place. And Ronnie, he was present. For once. Not distracted. Not checking football scores or whispering on the phone. He cooked, badly. Burnt bacon, unseasoned eggs. Told me about his past, selling airtime in town, how Natasha had once been his ride or die before becoming the boardroom. She manages the empire, he said, pouring wine. But you make me feel like a man again. I didn't flinch. But something in me clenched. I wasn't trying to be anyone's escape. I wanted to be the destination. That second night, he touched me differently, slower, like he was trying to memorize skin. Afterwards, he whispered things I wasn't ready to hear. About leaving, about being tired of performance, of photos, dinners, smiling next to someone he hadn't touched in months. I feel dead. I didn't answer. Because I liked being the fire. The chaos. The one who made him forget his world. But what happens when a man starts asking you to build a new one with him? The photo. Morning light crept in. I stood barefoot by the glass, letting the sunrise warm my skin. Ronnie slept behind me, his arm flung across my pillow like he belonged there. The lake outside. Too still. That kind of calm that means something's about to break. Then buzz. Blocked number. No message, just a photo, a screenshot of me, in that silk robe, standing by the glass, taken from outside. Whoever it was. They were watching, and they were close. I didn't wake Ronnie. I just stared at the photo and whispered to myself, game on. And that's a wrap on part 1 of Harare Hustle. From combis in Copacabana to silent tears in shared rooms in avenues, this is the story behind the soft life, behind the gloss. It's not always pretty, but it's always real. To the girls in heels dodging potholes, to the guys reselling airtime just to catch a meal, to every dreamer trying to make Zim make sense, this one's for you. If this spoke to your spirit, hit that like, drop a comment, and don't forget to subscribe. Because in part 2, the grind gets heavier, the lies get slicker, and the hustle, the hustle starts hustling you. Until next time,
stay woke, stay soft, stay strategic.
This is Harare Hustle.